Hi there, it's April the 1st. I got this tradition to do a bunch of random videos on that day I would normally do, including allowing people to ask me any question they want me to answer. The cartoon took more time than I hoped for, so I'm afraid I'm going to do this video without a script or much editing this time to get it finished on time. So without much further ado, the questions you ask, the non-Sonic edition. The Sonic questions will be on a video on the other channel. Alrighty then. And the theme for this video is going to be animations for adults, apparently, because that's a often recurring theme this time. So let's get to it. First question from Melting Man, who asks a lot of questions. Nightmare Before Christmas dissected, or perhaps discussing about how there are two medias that act as a sequel to the film and how they handle doing a sequel. The video game Oogie's Revenge and a comic manga series Zero's Journey. I'm afraid I don't have much to say on Nightmare Before Christmas. I've seen it, I love the movie, especially love the What's This song. It's just not really a kind of movie that I have a lot of thoughts on. It's just a nice movie. I'm not familiar with Zero's Journey. I am familiar with the video game though, and that's kind of interesting. Kind of disappointing because you do a sequel to Nightmare Before Christmas, and that's all about how there's like different dimensions for each holiday. So I was kind of hoping that a sequel would explore on that. Maybe the Zero's Journey sequel does. I don't know. But yeah, the video game doesn't really use that, so it's a shame. I would love to see Jack Skellington go to Valentine's Day universe or to a St. Patrick's Day universe and see him interact with that kind of thing. That would be fun. Unfortunately, he sticks with Halloween for most of the game and then one final level in the Christmas world again. The game is always so weird to me that how it's so combat focused. I mean, I don't really see Jack Skellington as some kind of badass warrior. He's more of a showman, more of a performer, more than really any kind of weird warrior. So I guess I kind of think it would make me a hypocrite because there's other games like the Aladdin game for the Sega Genesis and DOS that I love, and also kind of does the same thing where it turns Aladdin into this vicious murderer throwing, cutting people up with a sword, which never really happens in the cartoon. It's especially funny because he really looks as if he walked out of the original movie because it's really drawn by the Disney animators instead of more of an abstract video game representation. So it is kind of funny to play that game and how it just flows out of the movie. One jump ahead, hey, fuck you, guy. But yeah, for some reason there it works, but with Nightmare Before Christmas, I'm like, I don't know, it feels weird to see Jack Skellington in the context of like a big warrior fighting. Oh, well, I guess they really wanted to make a Devil May Cry kind of game. Other than that, not much to say about it. It kind of feels like Kingdom Hearts, where technically it's a sequel, but it still mostly just recycles ideas from the original, so it still more feels like a remake more than a sequel. Bit disappointing, but oh well. My thoughts on Samurai Jack. Genndy Tartakovsky. Oh my goodness, I don't know how to pronounce that name. He's kind of fascinating. He's one of the few examples of a more Western illustrator, clearly being very inspired by anime and trying to copy that kind of style, but doing it in a completely unique way. Where like, usually when the Europeans try to imitate anime, it looks kind of lame, kind of like a weak, cheap, fake kind of anime. Although sometimes it works. I love Wakfu, for example. That's a great example of anime and like French illustration kind of combining together. It usually looks kind of weird, but then you have something like Dexter's Lab and Samurai Jack and all those are also very clearly inspired by anime, but look completely different. So it still has this unique look. And what I really respect from this artist is like usually when like a cartoon takes itself serious, it's very close to a very realistic art style. Anime, superheroes, or most French graphic novels. I mean, they're clearly stylized, but it's still very close to reality. Very just a mild stylization. Well, something like Samurai Jack is completely abstract and isn't really too worried about resembling reality too much. And yet it still takes itself very serious. I mean, sure, there's a lot of comedy in it, but it's not really about that. Comedy's more like a guest. It makes guest appearances in the show, but it's really more bleak and introspective, the series itself. It just happens to have a couple comical characters walking into it, so it's kind of rare to see that. Like something that takes itself very serious, but still has a very stylized, weird art style, and I really respect that. You don't see that very often. That said, I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest. It's a little too bleak for my taste. His art style. I mean, I remember like Dexter's Lab Ego Trip. That movie has this very bleak art style to it, and kind of make me feel uncomfortable. And it kind of makes sense for what it is. I mean, it is about the bad guy Mandark taking over the whole world. So everything feels repressive, makes sense in the context of the story. But even when you see the paradise concept, even when you see the world being good and being rescued, it still kind of looks, I don't know, Sunday-ish in a bad way. Sunday as in trapped in church or trapped with your family. Kind of, it is peaceful, but you still kind of feel trapped. I don't know. It's a very unique art style, so there you go. I respect it a lot, but I'm not always a huge fan of it, although I do love Dexter's Lab a lot. That Sausage Party movie. Your thoughts on that film and how it seems to have failed to bring back animated films for adults? I've seen it. I thought it was okay. Little too many sex jokes for me. It kind of reminded me of Drawn Together in that kind of way. Like I love the concept. I love like the its concept, what it's about. But then they seem to be too much in love with the fact it's for made for adults, so they start making endless sex jokes instead, and it kind of loses focus on what should be the more interesting premise. Although to be fair, it is called Sausage Party, so it is to be expected. There's sex jokes in it. Eh. So it's kind of like a mature movie that's only interested in being immature, really. I don't know. I don't think Sausage Party really is the kind of movie where you want that would be a good example of a movie that would kind of pull animated films out of the kids ghetto and made it for adults, because Sausage Party, the whole point of the movie is that it looks like a kids movie, but it happens to have R-rated jokes, so kind of like the old South Park. So I don't think a movie like that would ever really like be the end of animated movies for only for kids, because the idea that animated movies that look like this are for kids, that's very much the lifeline of the movie. You kind of have to be in that mindset in order to enjoy the jokes. And it doesn't have the more clever satire or the more depth that South Park have to really elevate it above that. It just stays within that dimension, really. I wouldn't want a movie like Sausage Party to really be the front line of a new like direction of adult movies. It would. I just more want something that's just an adventure movie or something, more a Studio Ghibli movie, or those Disney movies, Treasure Planet and Atlantis. More something like that is more interesting. Movies that actually legitimately feel like an adult movie without and like, oh, there it looks like a kids movie, but they're saying naughty words. It's for adults. Like, eh. But yeah, the movie itself, it's fine. I love the idea of food fighting back against humans. Updating your dissection on your guests as in dissect your dissected guest stars from Sonic Music dissected up to now. By the way, this is not just an ego thing. Sure. Uh, man, I don't know what new guests I had. Is that really interesting? There's Racked, who does a lot of the Sonic voices for me. He helped with the music dissected up to now. I don't know. It's just. I guess you just want me to talk about you, is it? Your ego. Melting Man, the maker of wacky 3D movies within the making a lot of illustrations through Team Fortress or Gary's Mod, making videos talking about rare nerdy stuff, rare TV shows, that sort of thing. Check him out, I guess. There you go. I did a commercial for you. As weak as it sounds. Cosmic Fall. Cage Fire Emblem Saga Dissected. Fire Emblem 1 to 5 and Tearing Berwick for Vesteria Saga. Sorry, still never really played a Fire Emblem game. Man, people ask me a lot about these. Maybe we should. With all the coronavirus stuff, everyone's stuck inside. Maybe we should ask Luke to do a Let's Play or something, or stream us playing the game once. I mean, I know he plays the games a lot. At least he has played them. Like, I don't know, I just never get the interest in RPGs where I'm not allowed to walk around. It's such a vital aspect for me. I want to walk around the village. I want to walk around the landscapes. I don't like it when it's just cutscenes and battles. So yeah, sorry, not a very satisfying answer. I have a plan to do is Dissected on Grania 2. Probably not a very good substitute for Fire Emblem, but it's also a Japanese RPG, which I do have things to say about. Yeah, maybe I'll do a stream of a Fire Emblem and see what happens. Till this time, I never really had an interest in strategic RPGs. Sorry. Emmanuel, get rid of the Nazis, Alfredson. See Beastars yet? I've seen bits of it, yes. I guess it's all based on the old Sonic Dissected I did on Sonic 06, where I said that anime very rarely did very creative concepts, or at least creative character designs that stick very close to the humans in high school kind of concept, especially for female characters. So now we have this full-blown furry anime that takes itself very seriously and goes very far in the visual design. So yeah, well, it seems that that old Dissected, or at least that rant I had in that time, has really aged poorly now, because anime did definitely release a lot more creative looking anime these days, so they're a lot more loose. Yeah, I guess I should see Beastars someday. It's for Netflix, huh? I don't really have much free time because I waste so much time on animations, but yeah. You're right. I should see it someday. I've seen clips of it. I love the 3D animation. I love that when 3D animation really looks like 2D animation in a way. Very awesome art style. Suaks, talk about a more recent adult-orientated animations, not necessarily the spicy kind, and your thoughts about the animation Hell of a Boss and their use of the IMP anacrim. IMP versus IMP when? Yeah, like I said, this is really a recurring theme in this video. So I already talked about a couple adult-orientated animations, so let's talk about Hell of a Boss for a moment. That's just one pilot episode at this point, right? It looks great. I love the animation. I love the Zim voice actor being in it. Immediately recognizable. Awesome voice acting. Great fluent animation. Looks nice. And yes, they're called IMP. Immediate Murder Professionals. So it's almost begging for a crossover. They're even like a counter version of IMP. More devils for hire to murder people instead of heroes. Didn't really like the pilot much. It's a little too random for my taste. So I kind of missed like an episode structure. I mean, I guess for a pilot it's very good because it does spend a lot of time really showcasing the personalities of each character. It's really in love with its characters. There's a lot of personality there. But yeah, it's kind of missing like a strong plot. So it just feels like a lot of random. Like here's this character doing a crazy thing. Here's this character doing a crazy thing, and it kind of it's not really my preferred style. I'm also kind of missing more like sympathetic characters. I guess Mealy is kind of sympathetic. Oh, another character called Mealy, another IMP comparison. But yeah, most of them are very very nasty characters, which of course is fitting because it takes place in hell. So you know, but yeah, I kind of prefer the occasional more straight character or more nicer characters in between. If only as a victim to the more jerky characters, because if everyone's a jerk, then I guess you kind of lose focus a lot. Yeah, will I do a crossover with them? Maybe. It's a very interesting and a lot of potential. Though it kind of feels pathetic, like I'm trying to hitch a ride on the bigger popularity of this show because man, 60 million views. That's doing very well, that's for sure. But yeah, adult-oriented animations are doing well. So despite the question just now about it's a sausage party movie, even though in terms of movies, anything animated is immediately considered for children. But as far as TV shows go, there's a ton of adult-oriented cartoons. Big Mouth, South Park still, of course, Bob's Burgers, BoJack Horseman. So yeah, if you really want cartoons for adults, there's plenty to pick from. Just stay away from the movies. Sonic TV, as I know you were a huge Sega fan, what about a dissection of Sega's consoles? Can include handhelds if you want. Which is your favorite and why? Huh. I don't think I'm technical enough to really do much like that. Of course, what is my favorite console? Probably the Dreamcast, but that's mostly for personal reasons. The first one I bought with my own money. It's the one I spent the most like energy in because it wasn't really for sale in most normal stores, so I had to spend a lot of effort and hunting down the games, which of course is not pleasant, but as a result you do have a much stronger bond with each game and this system because it was really like a personal project, so it's like a big part of my youth. Although of course I love all the consoles. The Sega Game Gear is the one I mostly grew up with, but I was more passive with that one. I just got a new game for my birthday. I never really had to hunt anything down. What I'm spending more time with these days is trying to like figure out art styles. I mean, you have one of the fun things about old technology is that all of them have a very specific feel, and now people try to recreate those because in the past, of course, you had those specific art styles because that's how the technology went. People deliberately go back to, hey, let's do like an 8-bit game again. It looks like an NES game, or it looks like an old DOS game, because it is a very interesting art style. It kind of it does something. It starts to be elevated beyond just being a technical limitation. It just becomes an art style in itself. And one art style I really love is, again, from the Dreamcast era. There's like something strange about the graphics. I'm trying to figure out why exactly I like it. Like something like this with Scud Racer. I don't know what it is about this the sharpness, the grittiness, but also how colorful it is. It's doing something to me, and I find it interesting. I can't really put my finger on it. Why this is such a specific 1998 kind of art style that I see a lot in the games from those days. It isn't just the rendering itself; it's how the art design is done. I think what I love about the art style from these games in this time period, like the late 90s, where the graphics were good enough that you could actually get everything on screen at the same time, but it was before they decided to make everything in the same color style, so you had much more color contrast going on. I find it very interesting. It's this very brief period in time where they did stuff like that, although you see it come back recently, fortunately. There's a lot of more modern games that do have more color contrast, are much more daring with colors clashing with each other. Of course, cartoony games always do something like that. Like Nintendo games, Mario and all, they always have very colorful, contrasting colors. But I mean more realistic games where you still have that grit to it. That's much more specific. But yeah, I see that a lot with modern games coming back too, like Carmageddon, Just Cause does it. I love it. And that kind of fascinated me. So there's a bit of a technical talk about graphics, I guess. Mac Robinson, are there any official remixes, remasters, covers of video game music that you feel have a particularly strong impact? Maybe a callback to an earlier song that plays a crucial moment in the story, or even just a version that's really good update to the original? I hadn't had something like that for a very long time, strangely enough. I think that the closest I had to something like this, it's kind of cheating because it has nothing to do with video games, it's a cartoon, but with Toy Story 4, you kind of hear the music you hear at the beginning of the first Toy Story when Woody is introduced for the first time. You kind of hear it by the end. It's a nice bookend. I got a little emotional for that. But it's kind of funny because the story itself didn't really do it for me, but that musical cue kind of hit something. So that's a memory I have of a bit of a remaster remix kind of hitting me. As for video games, the problem is usually when music gets remixed, it's usually for meta reasons, mostly for like a deliberate callback because you're back in a level, or it's more of a meta game like Smash Bros. One remix I do remember that wasn't using that capacity and did get a reaction out of me. Very funny. It's the last place I would expect something to give me an emotion like that, but the new upcoming mobile phone game from Sonic and the Tokyo games. Like the weirdest place to get any kind of emotional reaction to a music remix. But there's this cutscene. And I love that cutscene. This is like one of the best cutscenes I've seen in a Sonic game for a very long time. And it's from a freaking mobile phone game. The story isn't particularly interesting, and it's very cheaply done with just moving portraits. But the energy, like you hear the Sonic Adventure Eggman theme being remixed, and it has a nice pumping energy to it, and even the shots, how the camera moves, there's a lot of energy. And I saw that, and it's like, man, I miss this kind of energy in the Sonic game. Like most Sonic games are so dull and boring, and the music is just low energy, and there's nothing exciting happening. Everyone just stands around saying boring stuff. Like, and it doesn't matter if the story is good or bad or comedic or serious. It's just no energy. And then you see a cutscene like that, and immediately like, I'm gonna do a thing. Eggman, I'm gonna stop you. And the music is pumping. And like, yeah, this is awesome. Why aren't the main Sonic games doing this anymore? Why are the only times I have any kind of excited reaction to a cutscene is in Lego Dimensions, and now in a freaking cell phone game. So I don't know what Sega's doing, but for the next Sonic game, I hope we get something like this again in the cutscenes. But oh my goodness, I'm talking about Sonic again. I wasn't supposed to do that in this video, so. But yeah, that's the only memory I have of a remix doing something to me recently. Silver Celeste, do more Sonic Dissected. I'm putting that in this video because in case Silver Celeste doesn't know, Sonic Dissected are on a different channel now. I don't really put them on this channel anymore. Although, yeah, it's been a while, even on that channel, since I made the last proper video. Of course, I made Sonic Dissected for the Sonic movie, but it's in copyright trouble now, so we're working on fixing that. That's kind of why I made the footage from the Sonic in Minutes video. So yeah, just so you know, click on the link below to get to my Sonic Dissected channel. Those were the non-Sonic questions, so that was this video. See ya.